Alright. I think it's time you sports card collectors and investors truly need to understand what's going on with the Hasbro Magic the Gathering fiasco, right? Overprinting things that's been talked about recently, and why it's actually completely different from the sports card ecosystem. This is Card Boss, let's go. Okay, so by now we're familiar with the news about Magic the Gathering, whereby Bank of America released an analyst article citing Hasbro was over milking its golden goose, which is Magic the Gathering, by a massive overprinting, okay, of their cards in recent years, and this led to severe saturation of cards in the market, alongside plenty of confused and maybe disgruntled collectors and investors alike. Now, I'm going to come back and talk about Magic the Gathering scene in just a minute, but what's happening on the other side of the pond, which is the sports card world, is that people are seeing this as kind of like a potential impending doom, okay, because they feel it's kind of like the same of what Panini is doing, right, which is literally shoving boatloads of releases, different kinds of products, before the license ultimately hands over to Fnatic. Well, I'm here today to tell you guys my own personal opinion on this, being the operator in the space as an investor on both sides. Okay, let's talk Magic the Gathering. Firstly, I've been a player and a collector of Magic for over 20 years, and I played professionally. I did a lot of deals, including high-end in recent years, and I had a taste in operating a local game store. I had my own Magic store, for a while, so I'm quite familiar with the ins and outs of the game as well as the business side of things. But for the longest time, Magic the Gathering, piloted by its creators, Wizards of the Coast, has made tremendous stride. Okay, kudos to them in developing the game, to keep the game interesting, for its exciting core players, as well as to develop new inflow of players as well. And aside from being just a card game, Magic Gathering, kind of like wraps it up with a nice continuous storyline, which its adventures actually makes certain characters whereby us players actually find a lot of association with what we call planeswalkers, and these planeswalkers travel between different realms of Magic, and as a result, that's the basis of most of the storyline that is what Magic is made of, and the corresponding cards. But as you can probably tell, developing a cohesive storyline, and well-designed game, it's no easy task, and really kudos to the design team, for which many years have brought interesting cards to life and exciting gameplay, which kept people like myself hooked for that many years. Then of course there's the business side of things, right? Printing to demand, limited editions, and all those things you can see in any other card market as well, not just limited to Magic. As more players enter into the system, there's also demand for older cards that's that's printed in the yesteryears. So reprinting for Magic is kind of like the norm already. They started off with a master set that was introduced so that it would help new players gain access to older cards. But then again, that actually started the downward spiral, okay, of card prices, and certain doom, in my opinion, like in terms of value and scarcity. So now what we're seeing today is, outside of the famous reserve list, which is actually a whole new video on its own, Magic can essentially reprint any single card, with different art, different colors, different foiling, borders, and all those kind of things, right? And these are kind of interesting in the beginning, for collectors who like to have different variations, like they think all these things are sounding pretty familiar, right? But what actually got things out of control is when the newest set starts to introduce many different variations, okay, of the same card. So when you refer this back to sports, right, you say like, this sounds kind of familiar, right? So what's the big deal? Well, you have to understand, right, for Magic the Gathering, the number one goal is utility, and that means to play the game. So while it's great to have different variations of the same card to choose from, picking your favorite art, your favorite look, your favorite foiling, for example, but from the buying standpoint, it kind of sucks, right? Because you have to spend money and keep getting the same card over and over again when you're not cracking those kind of products. Be it has a different look, some nicer than the others. But to put some numbers into perspective, back in the days, Wizard were to develop, let's say, a 140 card set, right? And we just have one parallel, which is the foil version, right? Simple enough. Today, for the same 140 card set, you have maybe 4 to 5 different parallels, different kind of art, different kind of printing, and it's just saturation to the max, right? And we're just talking about the new cards, right? You have to throw in the variations they have for the older cards as well. And Wizards are kind of smart, right? They know that they don't actually need to segregate between old cards and new cards. They just lump everything into the same product, into the same sealed product, and us, players, buying into these kind of new products, we're exposed to all these variations of not just new cards but old cards, which actually we don't necessarily need as well. So it's kind of like making us players spend our money on, literally, let's say 50%, on reprinted stuff that we don't actually need. Now, you ask some of these old players, now these reprint cards, I wouldn't say they're junk cards or they are, in terms of no utility. They do reprint good cards because that's the intention of reprinting the good cards from those days when you couldn't access any of them. But the problem is, in terms of value, when these cards get reprinted, not once, twice, or 3 times, they just push the value down, right down to the rock bottom. So this ecosystem, or this phenomenon, whatever you call it, right, is slowly spiraling the entire thing out of control. And when a representative of Wizards of the Coast or Wizard Hasbro, was asked in a recent live stream whether or not this massive overprinting and the way they were doing things will it stop anytime soon, and the answer was not really. Alright, so we kind of know Magic's in a bit of a trouble, right? So why are sports card collectors and investors are freaking out? Or at least I think they're freaking out because of all these YouTube videos that's coming out. Well, some people see the same writing on the wall as what's happening to Panini, right, before their impending exit to Fanatics. But here's what you guys actually need to understand the differences, right? Yes, every year we got new products, Panini releases new products, multiple parallels, 50 different colors of the rainbow, entire zoo collection, right? And don't forget, reuse photography. That's my pet peeve, right? Reuse photography. But one thing's unique is the different draft class that we have every single year, that has offered, which means the rookie cards, right? So, and that essentially means first, rookie and only print. Now, subsequently, we would have new variations of that particular player, but going forward, there's always going to be just one rookie card for that player, or one rookie year. You can't actually go back and reprint rookie cards for that particular player, and that's essentially the principle or the basic fundamentals of investing in the first place, right? Going back to the original first year cards or rookie cards. So this is what investing 101 is about. Look at rookie cards. Now with Magic, Wizards can essentially wind back the clock, all right, like going back all the way back to 1999 and look at all the sets and actually reprint whichever one that they choose, and that's a huge problem to the secondary market. Now, second of all, Panini is firing up the printers right now, right? Everybody's aware of that. It's basically kind of like their last chance to milk us buyers, collectors, investors, for every dollar that they can, literally throwing the kitchen sink at us. Now, for a lot of us, we kind of like pick and choose what we want, what sets do we want, what kind of products, some Prism, Select, Flawless, and some of us, go for the lower end stuff. But again, we pick what we're comfortable with, what we enjoy, which set we prefer, and all those kind of things. But kind of like for Magic, if you want to stay, in the game, you kind of like have to be in touch with every single set that comes out, or mostly every single set that actually comes out, because each of these new sets contribute, the new cards actually contribute some level of utility to the game. So you're kind of like forced to buy the new cards from that set in order to stay well connected to the game. But if you're gonna say, hang on, the products are so oversaturated, so many variations, all these stuff that I don't need. Why buy products, right? Why not just go and buy singles from the secondary market? Well, then again, these singles have to come from somewhere, right? Obviously, somebody else is cracking these products, and given the circumstances, these products come at a huge cost. Okay, And because the cost of opening these products is so high, considering how pushed down the secondary value of these single sides, it's kind of like a very difficult balancing game, for Magic the Gathering. And because Magic is a game that constantly evolves, right? Meaning a card can be really popular today, which means it can be really expensive today, but just kind of like fizzle out next week. So it might be popular again down the road, but values can really just plummet to zero essentially, okay, within a week, or 50% you're just giving to you. Now zero may be a bit extreme, but that's not the kind of market that you want to operate as an investor. It's just too volatile. But with sports, right, certain players that have the ups and down seasons, that's a given, but most of the time you are actually banking on a few established players, most of the time established stars, and the value of these players don't actually run that far off until they reach maybe close to retirement. So the runway is actually pretty long on sports cards, essentially, okay. But even Magic the Gathering, maybe those cards don't have a retirement age compared to some players in sports. Once they retire, don't count the goats, right? So they do actually, price do come down for those cards. For Magic, you never know when these cards become popular again and prices will spike up. But as an investor, these kind of huge spikes and huge valleys, especially how Hasbro has the reprinting kind of policy, it's kind of like a scary place to park your money in. So, in conclusion, where we are today, well, the external environment, the economic situation is suppressing all markets, including car markets. The news with FTX isn't really helping the confidence of anyone who has a significant amount of capital placed in alternative, unregulated assets. But for now, between sports and Magic, I'm kind of leaning towards sports. At the moment, there is still an element of risk, but the comfort level is a bit better. Magic is still in a very volatile space. I have dipped a bit back in Magic before all this Hasbro thingy, but I kind of tread carefully with Magic, moving forward. Alright, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoy this content. Do like to subscribe and follow my channel. Thanks for watching. Till the next one, Carboss out.